Jake Morrison sat in the cold metal chair and watched the alien leaders mock his people. A massive crystal hall on Nexus Prime stretched above him like a frozen waterfall. 18 months of talks had brought them nowhere. Every human proposal met the same response: laughter, dismissal, condescension. The Zelani High Counselor Zarthik stood at the center podium. His blue skin gleamed under the artificial lights. 6 arms gestured dramatically as he spoke. Behind him sat representatives from dozens of alien species. The Throck with their insect-like faces, the ancient Vorthen in their floating hover chairs, the snake-like Nexuri coiled around their speaking platforms. All of them stared down at the small human delegation with barely hidden contempt. The human species, Zarthik announced in his booming voice, continues to make unreasonable demands. You ask for equal treatment in galactic affairs. You request the right to expand beyond your tiny solar system. You demand access to advanced technologies. These requests show how little you understand your place in our galaxy. Jake felt his jaw tighten. Beside him, Admiral Lisa Grant shifted in her seat. Her fingers drummed silently on the table. Captain Pete Sullivan kept his face blank, but Jake could see the anger burning in his eyes. Chief Negotiator Amy Parker took careful notes on her datapad. Her stylus moved with sharp, angry strokes. The human delegation had arrived with hope 18 months ago. Earth had made first contact with the Galactic Confederation only 5 years earlier. Humanity had been eager to join the galactic community. They offered trade agreements, cultural exchanges, and technological cooperation. They promised to follow galactic law and respect alien territories. The aliens had other ideas. Your species is young, continued Zarthik. You have barely mastered space travel within your own system. Your weapons are primitive. Your technology is thousands of years behind ours. Yet you sit here and demand to be treated as equals. This shows dangerous arrogance. The Throck representative clicked his mandibles together. The humans expanded into the Kepler system without permission. They established colonies on worlds we had marked for future development. This aggressive behavior cannot be tolerated. Jake wanted to laugh. The Kepler system sat empty for 10,000 years. No alien species had visited in recorded history. Human surveys found no signs of alien presence. No claims. No markers. No warnings. Just empty worlds waiting for life to flourish. So humanity had made them flourish. The Confederation has been patient, said Zarthik. We have allowed this expansion to continue while we negotiated. But our patience has limits. Today we present our final terms. A holographic display appeared above the table. It showed human space in red, a tiny bubble around Earth and its colonies. The display zoomed out to show the vast territories controlled by alien species. Hundreds of star systems. Thousands of worlds. The human bubble looked like a single grain of sand on an endless beach. First, announced Zarthik, all human colonies beyond the Sol system must be abandoned within 2 standard years. Your species will return to your home system and remain there. Amy Parker's stylus snapped in her grip. Second, humanity will accept technological restrictions. No faster-than-light travel beyond your system. No weapons above Class 3 specifications. No independent research into quantum mechanics or dimensional physics. All human technology development will be supervised by Confederation observers. Pete Sullivan's knuckles went white. Third, humanity will accept Confederation guidance in all governmental and social matters. Your species clearly needs direction to avoid future aggressive behavior. Confederation advisors will be stationed on Earth and all human colonies too. Ensure compliance with galactic law. Lisa Grant stopped drumming her fingers. Her hand moved slowly toward her sidearm. Fourth, Humanity will pay reparations for the illegal occupation of the Kepler system. This payment will be made in raw materials and labor. Human work crews will be provided to repair damage caused by your unauthorized expansion. Jake felt something cold settle in his stomach. These were not negotiation terms. This was surrender. Complete and total capitulation. The aliens wanted to turn humanity into a slave species, keep them trapped in their home system, control their technology, control their government, control their lives. These terms are generous, said Zarthik. Many in the Confederation argued for harsher measures. Some suggested humanity should be relocated to a single world under direct alien control. Others proposed dividing your population among various species as indentured workers. We have chosen a more merciful path. The Vorthan representative spoke in a whisper that somehow carried through the entire hall. Your species should be grateful for this opportunity. Many young races never receive such consideration. Most are simply absorbed or eliminated when they prove troublesome. The Confederation offers you survival, existence under our protection. Counselor Veltar of the Nexuri slithered forward on his platform. Consider yourselves fortunate. Your primitive nature is almost charming. Like children playing with toys they do not understand. We will teach you proper behavior, guide you toward acceptable development, help you become useful members of galactic society. A hall filled with alien laughter, clicking mandibles, whistling breath, gurgling approval. They found the idea amusing. Humans as children. Humanity as pets to be trained and controlled. Jake looked at his team. Amy Parker had crushed the broken stylus in her fist. Blood dripped between her fingers. Pete Sullivan sat rigid as stone. His breathing had become slow and controlled. Lisa. Grant's eyes held a coldness Jake had never seen before. She looked like a predator calculating distances. You have one standard day to accept these terms, announced Zarthik. After that, the Confederation will implement them by force. Our fleets are already in position around your colonies. Our troops are prepared for occupation duties. Resistance will only bring unnecessary suffering to your people. The alien leaders settled back in their seats. Satisfied smiles crossed their faces. They had delivered their ultimatum, shown the primitive humans their place in the galactic order, demonstrated the futility of resistance. Now they waited for the inevitable surrender. Jake Morrison stood. Slowly, the scraping of his chair against the floor echoed through the vast hall. Every alien eye focused on him. Hundreds of species watched the human ambassador, waiting for his words of defeat, his acceptance of their terms, his people's submission to alien rule. Jake looked around the hall, at the Zilani with their superior attitudes, at the Throck with their calculating stares, at the Vorthan in their ancient arrogance, at all the species that had decided humanity's fate without caring about human desires, without considering human capabilities, without understanding what they were really dealing with. When Jake spoke, his voice carried clearly through the crystal hall. Simple words, calm tone, no anger, no threats. Just a statement of fact that would echo across the galaxy. These negotiations are over. He turned and walked toward the exit. Amy Parker followed, still bleeding from her broken stylus. Pete Sullivan rose like a mountain and moved with deadly grace. Lisa Grant smiled as she stood, a cold, predatory smile that made several aliens shift uncomfortably in their seats. Behind them, alien laughter filled the hall. The Confederation leaders congratulated themselves on their successful intimidation. They had put the aggressive humans in their place, forced them back to their tiny corner of space, demonstrated galactic power to an upstart species. No. Them noticed the small recording device Amy Parker left behind. None of them saw Pete Sullivan's satisfied nod as they passed the exit scanners. None of them caught Lisa Grant's whispered words into her communicator dot. The aliens laughed and celebrated. They had no idea what they had just unleashed. They were about to learn why underestimating humanity was the last mistake many species ever made. 6 months passed in eerie silence. The Galactic Confederation congratulated itself on successfully intimidating the human species. No human ships appeared in neutral space. No human traders visited alien ports. No human diplomats requested meetings. The aggressive upstarts had been put in their place. Most alien leaders considered the matter closed. The humans had crawled back to their tiny solar system like scolded children. They were probably preparing to comply with Confederation demands. Soon human work crews would arrive to dismantle their illegal colonies. Human technology would be surrendered for inspection. Human leaders would accept Confederation guidance, but a few individuals began to worry. Commander Krell of the Throck. Intelligence Service studied shipping reports in his underground office on Hive World Prime. His insect eyes scanned data streams with growing concern. Every human merchant vessel had vanished from the galactic trade networks. Ships that had regular routes through neutral space simply stopped appearing. Traders who had maintained schedules for years disappeared without explanation. Krell pulled up communication logs. Human businesses had quietly canceled all long-term contracts with alien companies. Mining operations shut down. Trading posts closed. Diplomatic staff recalled to Earth. The withdrawal was systematic and complete. "Sir," buzzed his aide through the intercom. "We have another anomaly report." "Display it," Krell ordered. Holographic data filled the air above his desk. Long-range sensors had detected massive electromagnetic activity in human space. Industrial signatures unlike anything previously recorded. Energy readings that suggested construction on an unprecedented scale. "What are they building?" Whispered. Krell dot across the galaxy on Vorthan Prime. Ancient scientist Ithara floated in her observatory chamber. Her people had watched the stars for 50,000 years. They knew the electromagnetic signatures of every known technology. But the readings from human space puzzled her. The energy patterns were familiar yet wrong. They resembled known manufacturing processes but operated at impossible scales. Quantum resonance suggested massive shipyard construction. Gravitational fluctuations indicated the movement of enormous masses. The humans were building something. Something big. Y Tiara tentacles danced across her control interface. She focused every available sensor on human territory. The data that came back made her ancient hearts skip beats. The industrial activity centered around Earth, Mars, and the outer planets. Every human world showed similar patterns. Massive construction, unprecedented energy usage, total mobilization. "They are preparing for war," she whispered to empty air dot in the hidden depths beneath Earth's surface. Admiral Pete Sullivan walked through corridors that officially did not exist. The underground complex stretched for miles beneath the Sahara Desert. Construction had begun decades ago, just after first contact with alien species. Humanity had hoped for peace, but prepared for war. "Status report," Pete ordered as he entered. The main command center. Colonel Steve Baker turned from his tactical displays. His enhanced soldiers had completed another training exercise with perfect scores. "Ground forces are ready, sir. All units equipped with experimental power armor. Combat effectiveness up 400% from baseline human standards." Dr. Corinne White looked up from her weapons console. Dark circles under her eyes showed months of sleepless work. "Quantum disruption torpedoes are operational. Final tests exceeded all expectations. Alien shield technology is vulnerable to our new weapons." Engineer Mike Torres grinned from his production station. "Shipyard output ahead of schedule, sir." The new battleship designs are ready for mass deployment. We've incorporated every piece of alien tech we managed to acquire over the years. Pete nodded grimly. The alien leaders thought they knew human capabilities. They had seen human ships in diplomatic encounters, observed human weapons during peace negotiations, made assumptions based on limited data. They had no idea what humanity could really do. The truth was simple and terrifying. Humanity had never trusted the galactic community. From the moment of first contact, human intelligence services began stealing alien technology. Human scientists reverse-engineered every alien device they could acquire. Human engineers designed weapons specifically to counter alien defenses. Every trade agreement included hidden clauses that gave humans access to alien manufacturing techniques. Every cultural exchange provided opportunities to study alien military doctrine. Every diplomatic meeting was a chance to gather intelligence on alien capabilities and weaknesses. The aliens thought they were dealing with primitive newcomers. They were actually facing a species that had spent 5 years preparing for exactly this moment in the Mars orbital shipyards. Massive construction continued around the clock. The alien observers the Confederation had demanded were welcomed with open arms. They toured facilities and examined human technology with condescending smiles. They saw exactly what humanity wanted them to see. The observers missed the quantum fold space engines being installed in hidden compartments. They overlooked the adaptive AI systems that could counter any known alien defense. They failed to detect the stealth technology that made human ships invisible to alien sensors. Dr. Elena Martinez smiled politely as she escorted a group of Zelani inspectors through a typical human research facility. The aliens examined primitive computers and outdated weapons with obvious disdain. They made notes about humanity's limited technological development. 10 levels below, human scientists put finishing touches on weapons that could crack planets. Research teams completed work on defensive systems that made human ships nearly invulnerable. Engineers tested drive systems that operated on principles alien science had not yet discovered. The Zelani inspectors left convinced of human inferiority. Their reports to the Confederation dismissed any possibility of effective human resistance. The primitive species posed no real threat to galactic stability. On Earth, President Frank Carter met with his military advisors in the Situation Room. The underground bunker hummed with activity as staff prepared for humanity's next phase. "How long do we have?" Carter asked. "Intelligence suggests the aliens will move within the next month," reported CI, Director Nancy Bell. "Their positioning: fleets around our colonies. Ground forces are being staged for occupation duties. Are we ready?" Carter's question carried the weight of species survival. Pete Sullivan answered without hesitation. "More than ready, sir. Our capabilities exceed even our most optimistic projections. The aliens have made a fundamental error. They've assumed our limitations based on what they've observed. They don't realize they've only seen what we wanted them to see." General Patricia Hayes pulled up strategic displays. Human space was outlined in blue. Alien positions showed in red. To casual observers, humanity looked hopelessly outnumbered. Tiny blue dots surrounded by overwhelming red forces. The aliens saw the same displays. They counted their advantages: superior numbers, advanced technology, established supply lines, experienced commanders. The humans were trapped in their home system with nowhere to run. They were confident in their victory before the first shot was fired. What the aliens could not see were the hidden human assets. Ships invisible to alien sensors positioned throughout the galaxy. Weapons caches secretly placed on key worlds. Intelligence networks that had penetrated every major alien government. Human agents in positions of trust throughout the Confederation. The aliens thought they were preparing to crush a primitive rebellion. They were actually walking into the most sophisticated military trap in galactic history. In her laboratory deep beneath Luna City, Dr. Karen White ran final diagnostics on humanity's most closely guarded secret, the quantum disruption technology. That would render alien shields useless. The adaptive AI systems that could learn and counter any alien tactic in real time. The stealth drives that operated on principles alien science considered impossible. Her screens showed test results that would have terrified alien military planners. Human weapons could penetrate any known alien defense. Human ships could appear anywhere without warning. Human forces could adapt to any alien strategy faster than alien commanders could implement it. Karen smiled coldly. The aliens had made their choice. They wanted war instead of peace. They preferred intimidation over negotiation. They chose to treat humanity as an inferior species that needed controlling. They were about to learn why that was the last mistake they would ever make. The quiet months were ending. The storm was about to break. And when it did, the galaxy would discover what happened when humanity stopped pretending to be harmless. The war began without warning or declaration. Across 12 star systems, alien military installations simply vanished from sensor displays. No distress signals, no battle reports, no explanations. One moment the bases were there, fully operational and heavily defended. The next moment they were gone. Captain Ryan Clark stood on the bridge of the UES Retribution as his ship materialized inside Kepler Station's defensive shields. The massive Zilani fortress had been considered impregnable. Its shields could withstand fleet bombardments. Its weapons could destroy entire squadrons. Its garrison included the elite of Zilani military forces. None of that mattered now. The Retribution's quantum fold space drive had transported the ship directly through the station's defenses. Technology the aliens believed impossible for humans to possess. Their sensors detected nothing until the human battleship appeared in their central docking bay like a nightmare made real. "All weapon systems online," reported Lieutenant Susan Blake from her tactical station. "Quantum disruption torpedoes armed and ready. Broadcasting surrender terms on all frequencies," added Communications Officer Bill Ryan. "The aliens have 30 seconds to comply." Ryan watched the tactical display as Zilani fighters scrambled to respond. Too little, too late. The human ship's adaptive AI systems had already analyzed their flight patterns and weapons configurations. Countermeasures were being deployed before the alien pilots finished launching. "Sir," reported sensor operator Janet Lewis, "alien ground. Forces are moving toward defensive positions. Estimated 12,000 troops in full combat gear. Deploy the Marines," Ryan ordered. Colonel Steve Baker's enhanced soldiers materialized throughout Kepler Station in flashes of blue light. Personal teleportation technology the aliens had no defense against. Each Marine wore power armor that made them faster and stronger than any known alien species. Their weapons could penetrate any alien defensive system. The battle was over in minutes. Zilani troops found themselves facing opponents who moved like ghosts and fought like demons. Human Marines appeared behind enemy lines before vanishing into thin air, their weapons carved through alien armor like paper. Their tactical coordination was perfect and relentless. Most Zilani forces surrendered rather than face annihilation. The few who tried to fight discovered that human warriors showed no mercy to those who threatened civilians, but perfect restraint with those who yielded. Prisoners were treated with dignity. Wounded aliens received medical care. Non-combatants were protected and evacuated. "Station secured," Baker reported to Ryan. "Minimal casualties on both sides. The aliens are requesting immediate evacuation of their civilians," Ryan nodded. "Grant their request. Provide medical assistance to their wounded. Make sure their families are safely relocated to neutral territory. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out as human forces struck with surgical precision. Admiral Lisa Grant coordinated the broader campaign from the command ship USS Defiance. Her tactical displays showed overwhelming human success on every front. The Throck stronghold at Beta Centauri fell when human ships emerged from quantum fold space directly inside their command center. The Vorthan fleet base at Wolf 359 surrendered after human forces disabled their entire defensive network without firing a shot. The Nexuri Military Academy at Vega submitted when human Marines materialized in their classrooms and calmly requested their surrender. Each victory demonstrated the same pattern. Human forces appeared without warning, using technology the aliens thought impossible. They struck with devastating precision while carefully avoiding civilian casualties. Enemy military assets were neutralized with minimal loss of life on both sides. The aliens began to realize they were not fighting the primitive species they had expected. Status report from all fronts, Lisa ordered. Commander Patricia Hayes consulted her data displays. All primary objectives secured within projected timeframes. Enemy military resistance has collapsed in 8 of 12 target systems. The remaining 4 are requesting terms for surrender. Casualties? Lisa asked. Minimal on both sides, Patricia reported. Our forces have followed rules of engagement perfectly. Enemy civilian populations report no injuries. Military casualties are limited to those who refused surrender orders. Lisa nodded grimly. This was exactly what human planners had intended. Overwhelming force applied with surgical precision. Military objectives achieved, while preserving life whenever possible. The aliens were being defeated by opponents who fought with both devastating capability and moral restraint. On the bridge of his flagship, Throck Admiral Vexstar stared at tactical displays that made no sense. His forces were being systematically destroyed by ships that appeared from nowhere. Human vessels materialized inside his defensive perimeters and vanished again before his weapons could target them. His best pilots were being outflown by opponents who seemed to predict their every move. "Sir," buzzed his intelligence officer, "we're receiving reports from all sectors. Human forces are using technology that should not exist. Quantum fold space. Drives. Adaptive combat AI. Personal teleportation systems. Weapons that ignore our shield frequencies." Vextar's mandibles clicked in frustration. How did they develop these capabilities? Our observers reported primitive technology, limited weapons, outdated ships. The humans were hiding their true abilities, his aide admitted. They showed us what they wanted us to see, while concealing their actual military capacity. On Vorthan Prime, the ancient Council of Elders convened in emergency session. For 50,000 years, their species had dominated galactic affairs through superior technology and ancient wisdom. Now they faced opponents who had surpassed their capabilities. In months rather than millennia. "The humans are not what we believed," whispered Elder Morthek. "Their ships use drive systems based on principles we have not mastered. Their weapons operate on theories we considered impossible. Their military doctrine demonstrates strategic thinking that rivals our greatest tacticians." Elder Silvara floated in her suspensor chair, reviewing battle reports with growing dread. "They have been studying us for years, learning our weaknesses, preparing countermeasures for our defenses. We were so focused on their primitive nature that we failed to recognize their adaptive capabilities. The most disturbing revelation came from intercepted human communications. The attacking forces were operating under strict rules of engagement designed to minimize casualties. They could have annihilated alien populations, but chose restraint. They could have destroyed infrastructure, but targeted only military assets. They could have conquered worlds, but focused on neutralizing threats. The humans were not fighting a war of conquest. They were conducting a precise surgical operation to remove the military capability of species that had threatened them. They showed mercy from a position of overwhelming strength rather than weakness. Commander Jake Morrison broadcast a message from the UES Retribution as it held position over the conquered Kepler station. His words were transmitted throughout the galaxy, reaching every alien government and military command. To the leaders of the Galactic Confederation, Jake began, his voice calm and measured. 6 months ago, you demanded humanity's surrender to terms that would have reduced our species to slaves. You threatened our colonies. You promised military occupation of our worlds. You gave us 1 day to accept total capitulation. The transmission paused as tactical displays showed the scope of human victories across 12 star systems. Today, we give you the same courtesy, Jake continued. You have 1 day to withdraw all military forces from human territory. You have 1 day to formally recognize humanity's sovereignty over our established colonies. You have 1 day to begin negotiations for a new relationship based on mutual respect rather than domination. Another pause as the implications settled across alien command centers. If you choose to continue this conflict, you will discover that what you have seen so far represents only a fraction of human military capability. We have shown restraint because we prefer mercy to slaughter. We have avoided civilian targets because we value life. We have limited our response because we seek justice, not revenge. Jake's final words carried across the galaxy with cold certainty. Do not mistake our restraint for weakness. Do not confuse our mercy with inability. And do not repeat the error of underestimating humanity's resolve when our species' survival is at stake. The choice is yours. Choose wisely. The transmission ended, leaving alien leaders to contemplate their options. Military resistance had proven futile. Their best forces had been swept aside with contemptuous ease. Their most advanced technology had been rendered obsolete by human innovations they had never imagined possible. Worse still was the growing realization that humanity had been holding back. The devastating attacks represented measured responses, rather than full capability. If the aliens continued fighting, they faced opponents who could escalate the conflict far beyond anything they had experienced. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see which choice the alien leaders would make: surrender and negotiation, or continued resistance and the consequences that would follow. The emergency session of the Galactic Confederation erupted in chaos. Representatives from dozens of species screamed accusations at each other in the great Crystal Hall on Nexus Prime, the same chamber where they had laughed at Humanity 6. Months earlier now witnessed their civilization crumbling. High Counselor Zarthik of the Zilani stood at the central podium, his blue skin pale with fear. Around him, holographic displays showed the devastating scope of human victories. 12 star systems lost in a single day. The greatest military installations in the galaxy reduced to debris or surrendered without meaningful resistance. The humans have revealed capabilities we never suspected, Zarthik announced to the assembly. Their technology surpasses our understanding. Their military doctrine demonstrates strategic planning that must have taken years to develop. We have gravely underestimated their species. Throck Admiral Vextar's mandibles clicked frantically as he accessed his datapad. My fleets have been destroyed or captured across 7 systems. Human forces appeared inside our defensive perimeters using quantum fold space technology we believed impossible. Their weapons ignore our shields completely. Our best pilots cannot match their AI-enhanced combat systems. The Vorthan Elder Morphic floated forward in his suspensor chair. His ancient voice carried despair that chilled every representative in the hall. Our species has studied galactic warfare for 50,000 years. We have never encountered opponents who combine such devastating military capability with such precise restraint. The humans could have exterminated our populations, but chose to spare civilians. They could have destroyed our worlds, but targeted only military assets. Panic spread through the alien assembly as the full implications became clear. Humanity had not simply won a series of battles. They had demonstrated complete military superiority while maintaining moral authority. Every human action served both strategic and ethical purposes. "We must request immediate assistance from the Outer Rim species," declared Counselor Veltar. Of the Nexuri, the Korthic Empire maintains vast fleets. The Drexani hegemony has weapons that could match human technology. Together, we can still contain this threat. A new voice cut through the chaos. Dr. Elena Martinez materialized in the center of the hall via holographic projection. The human woman smiled politely as alien representatives fell silent. Her presence in their most secure facility demonstrated another shocking human capability. Distinguished representatives, Elena began in perfect galactic standard. "I bring greetings from the United Earth government and regrets from the species you hoped would assist your resistance." She gestured, and new holographic displays filled the hall. Diplomatic documents bearing official seals from dozens of alien governments. The Korthic Empire signed a non-aggression pact with humanity 3 years ago. The Drexani hegemony established mutual defense agreements with human colonies 18 months ago. The Outer Rim species have declared their neutrality in this conflict and formally recognized human sovereignty over all established territories. Stunned silence greeted this revelation. The aliens stared at diplomatic agreements they had never suspected existed. While the Confederation was dismissing humanity as primitive newcomers, human diplomats had been conducting secret negotiations throughout the galaxy. "You see," Elena continued, "humanity did not limit our diplomatic efforts to your Confederation. We approached every major species with offers of trade, cultural exchange, and mutual cooperation. Those who treated us with respect found us to be valuable partners. Those who showed arrogance discovered the consequences of their attitudes." The displays showed the true scope of humanity's galactic relationships. Species after species had signed agreements with human representatives, treaties that offered mutual benefits rather than one-sided domination, partnerships based on equality rather than subjugation. The Yithra Collective enjoys exclusive rights to human entertainment. Media. The Zephani Republic has access to human medical technology. The Volcar clans trade their crystal matrices for human computational systems. All of these relationships were established through respectful negotiation rather than threats. Admiral Vextar's voice carried disbelief. "When did these negotiations occur? Our intelligence services detected no human diplomatic activity beyond your delegation to the Confederation." Elena's smile grew colder. "Your intelligence services detected exactly what we wanted them to detect. While you monitored our official ambassadors, our real diplomats were establishing relationships throughout the galaxy. While you dismissed U.S. as technologically primitive, we were learning everything we could about your capabilities and weaknesses." The revelation struck like a physical blow. The aliens had been completely outmaneuvered on every level. Military, technological, diplomatic, strategic. The species they had treated as children had been playing a far more sophisticated game than any of them realized. "Why?" whispered Elder. "Silvara, why did you prepare for war while seeking peace?" "Because," Elena replied, "humanity learned long ago that peace can only be maintained from a position of strength. We hoped for friendship, but prepared for hostility. We offered cooperation, but planned for conflict. When you chose threats over negotiation, we were ready." New holographic data appeared showing human military preparations that had begun immediately after first contact. underground facilities, hidden shipyards, secret weapons development, research programs that had reverse-engineered every piece of alien technology humanity could acquire. For 5 years, we studied your species. We analyzed your military doctrines. We identified your technological limitations. We prepared countermeasures for your defensive systems, all while maintaining the appearance of primitive newcomers who posed no threat to galactic stability. The scope of human deception was staggering. Every trade agreement had included hidden clauses that gave humans access to alien manufacturing techniques. Every cultural exchange had provided opportunities to gather intelligence. Every diplomatic meeting had been a chance to assess alien capabilities and weaknesses. You wanted to treat us as children, Elena continued. You succeeded. So well that you never suspected the children were studying you just as carefully as you studied them. The difference was that we were learning while you were merely observing. Commander Jake Morrison's image appeared beside Elena's projection. The human ambassador who had walked out of their peace negotiations now held the power to determine their species' futures. The war can end today, Jake announced, but the terms will be different from what you offered humanity 6 months ago. The Galactic Confederation is dissolved effective immediately. Each species must negotiate individually with humanity for future relationships. Those who showed respect before the conflict will be welcomed as partners. Those who demonstrated cruelty will face appropriate consequences. The aliens listened in horrified silence as Jake outlined the new galactic order. War criminals who had ordered attacks on human civilians would face trial. The technological restrictions that had kept younger species subjugated were abolished. The exploitative trade agreements that enriched Confederation members at the expense of weaker species were terminated. Most importantly, Jake continued, galactic civilization will be rebuilt on principles of mutual respect, equality, and voluntary cooperation. No species will be forced to accept subordinate status. No race will be denied access to technology because of their age or origin. No civilization will be conquered simply because they lack sufficient military power. Zarthik found his voice. At last. And if we refuse these terms? Jake's expression remained calm, but his words carried absolute certainty. Then you will discover that what you have experienced so far represents only a demonstration of human capability. We have shown restraint because we value life and seek justice rather than revenge. But our patience is not unlimited. The holographic displays changed to show human fleets positioned throughout the galaxy, ships that had remained hidden until this moment, military assets that dwarfed anything the aliens had imagined possible. The true scope of human military preparation was finally revealed. Choose carefully, Jake concluded. This is the only offer you will receive. Accept these terms and begin the work of building a better galactic civilization. Refuse them and face the consequences of continued resistance against a species that has already demonstrated its superiority in every field that matters. The transmission ended, leaving the alien representatives to contemplate their options. Around the Great Hall, the silence was broken only by the sound of data pads falling from nerveless fingers and the whispered prayers of species that had finally realized the magnitude of their miscalculation. The hunters had become the hunted, the masters had become the servants. The species that had dismissed humanity as primitive children now awaited judgment from opponents who had proven themselves superior in every way that mattered. The galaxy would never be the same. 1 year later, Ambassador Jake Morrison walked through the halls of New Geneva Station. The massive space facility orbited Earth, in the same location where the aliens had once planned to establish their occupation headquarters. Instead, it served as the diplomatic center for humanity's vision of galactic civilization. The war had ended not with conquest, but with something far more devastating to the former Confederation. Mercy combined with absolute conditions. Every alien species had been forced to negotiate individually with humanity from positions of complete powerlessness. The results varied dramatically based on how each race had treated humans before the conflict. Jake entered Conference Room 7, where representatives from the former Zelani Empire waited nervously. High Counselor Zarthik looked nothing like the arrogant leader who had mocked humanity months earlier. His blue skin had taken on a gray pallor. His 6 arms trembled slightly as he activated his translation device. Ambassador Morrison, Zarthik began carefully, we have prepared the reparations schedule as requested. Our shipyards will provide 50 vessels of human design to replace the ships lost during our aggressive actions. Our mining operations will supply raw materials for human expansion at cost for the next 10 years. Jake reviewed the proposal on his datapad. The terms were harsh but fair. The Zelani had been the primary architects of the Confederation's attempt to subjugate humanity. Their punishment reflected their role in nearly starting a war of extermination. The schedule is acceptable, Jake replied. However, we require additional guarantees regarding civilian protection protocols. Your military forces will be restricted to defensive operations only. Any expansion beyond your current territory must be approved by the Galactic Ethics Council. Zarthik nodded quickly. We understand completely. The Zelani Empire acknowledges humanity's authority in all matters of galactic security. We will comply with all monitoring requirements. After the Zelani delegation left, Jake walked to the observation deck. Through the massive windows, he could see human ships arriving and departing on diplomatic missions throughout the galaxy. Each vessel carried representatives working to establish the new order that humanity had envisioned. Dr. Elena Martinez joined him at the viewing window. Her role as humanity's chief diplomatic architect had made her one of the most powerful individuals in the galaxy. Species that had once dismissed her as a primitive human now sought her approval for their most basic governmental decisions. How are the negotiations proceeding? Jake asked. Better than expected, Elena replied. The Thrak hegemony has agreed to dismantle their slave labor programs completely. The Vorthan Collective is sharing their advanced medical technology with younger species. Even the Nexuri are cooperating with the new trade regulations. And the resistant factions? Elena's expression darkened. The Norgok supremacy continues to refuse all terms. They've retreated to their home system and declared themselves isolated from galactic affairs. Intelligence suggests they're attempting to develop weapons capable of matching our technology. Jake nodded grimly. Not every species had accepted the new reality. A few alien governments had chosen isolation over cooperation. Others had attempted to continue their old ways of exploitation and dominance. These holdouts faced increasingly severe consequences as human patience wore thin. Admiral Pete Sullivan entered the observation deck carrying a secure datapad. The man who had overseen humanity's military preparations now managed the enforcement of galactic peace. Status report, Admiral, Jake requested. The Kethver pirate clans made another attempt to raid the Yithra Collective shipping lanes, Pete reported. Our response fleet intercepted them before they could cause damage. The surviving pirates had been turned over to Yithra authorities. For trial. Casualties? Elena asked. None among the Yithra civilians. Minimal among the pirates. They surrendered as soon as our ships appeared. Most of the pirate leadership is now requesting asylum and offering information about other criminal organizations. This pattern had repeated across the galaxy. Criminal groups that had operated with impunity under the old Confederation now faced human forces that could appear anywhere without warning. Pirates, slavers, and other predators discovered that their victims now had protectors who possessed overwhelming technological superiority. Jake's communicator chimed with an incoming message. The holographic display showed Captain Ryan Clark speaking from the bridge of the UES Retribution. Ambassador, we've received a priority transmission from the Outer Rim territories. The Drexani hegemony is requesting immediate assistance with a humanitarian crisis on their border worlds. Details? Jake asked. Refugee crisis from the former Mordek territories. Approximately 2 million civilians fleeing their government's increasingly oppressive policies. The Drexani lack the resources to provide adequate care for so many displaced persons. Elena stepped forward. Dispatch relief ships immediately. Make sure the refugees receive full medical care and temporary housing. Coordinate with the Drexani to establish permanent resettlement options. Already in progress, Ryan reported. The relief fleet departed 30 minutes ago. Estimated arrival at the crisis zone in 6 hours. This too had become routine. Human ships appeared wherever help was needed. Natural disasters, refugee crises, medical emergencies, and other catastrophes received immediate human assistance. The species that had once threatened to subjugate humanity now depended on human protection and aid. Jake walked to another section of the observation deck, where different scenes played out below. Alien students attended human universities through holographic projection. Researchers from dozens of species collaborated on projects that would have been impossible under the old system. Traders negotiated deals that benefited all parties rather than exploiting the weak. Dr. Karen White materialized via holographic projection from her laboratory on Luna, the weapons designer who had created humanity's most devastating military. Systems now focused on peaceful applications of the same technology. Ambassador, I have an update on the terraforming project, Karen reported. The quantum manipulation systems are ready for deployment. We can begin atmosphere processing on the first batch of refugee worlds within 30 days. Excellent news. Jake replied. How many worlds can we make habitable in the first year? Conservative estimate is 20 full terraforming projects, plus atmospheric improvements on another 50 marginal worlds. The Displaced Persons Council has identified populations that can be relocated as soon as the environments are ready. Jake smiled. Humanity had turned the galaxy's most advanced weapons, technology into tools for creating new homes for species displaced by the old system's failures. Worlds that had been uninhabitable were being transformed into garden paradises for refugees and other displaced populations. A new hologram appeared showing General Patricia Hayes from her command center on Mars, the officer who had planned humanity's military victories, now coordinated peacekeeping operations across the galaxy. Sir, we have a developing situation in the Rigel sector, Patricia reported. The Vexani Republic is experiencing internal political upheaval. Hardline factions are attempting to overthrow the government and restore the old system of noble rule over common citizens. Our response? Jake asked. Task Force 7 is standing by for deployment. Local human advisors report that the democratic factions are requesting assistance to maintain order. The Vexani citizens support the new government but lack military capability to defend it. Elena consulted her diplomatic files. The Vexani were among the first species to accept our terms completely. They've implemented every reform we requested and have been exemplary partners in the new galactic community. Deploy the task force, Jake ordered. Rules of engagement are to support the legitimate government while minimizing casualties among all factions. The goal is to preserve democracy, not to punish political opposition. This had become humanity's standard approach to galactic crises. Military force was used only to protect the innocent and preserve legitimate governments. Former oppressors who genuinely reformed their societies received full human support. Those who attempted to return to their old ways faced escalating consequences. As the hours passed, reports continued to flow in from across the galaxy. Human teachers were establishing schools on primitive worlds. Human doctors were treating diseases that had plagued alien species for centuries. Human engineers were building infrastructure that connected previously isolated civilizations. But the most significant change was philosophical rather than technological. The galaxy had learned to value cooperation over domination. Species that had once competed for resources now shared knowledge and worked together on common problems. The principle of mutual benefit had replaced the old system of exploitation. Jake received a final report of the day from Ambassador Susan Blake, who managed human relations with the species that had shown friendship before the war. The Yithra Collective has completed construction of the Joint Research Facility, Susan reported. Human and Yithra scientists will begin collaborative studies on consciousness and artificial intelligence next month.